What's up guys, my name is Jacob Owens and I am the director and editor of this Futuristic Wishawoods music video. Today I'm just gonna talk about kind of the video, how it came about, the inception of a lot of the ideas and a lot of the creative behind it as far as my direction and ideas for the video. I'll probably touch on a couple of the lighting setups and looks, just because a lot of that happened through just a particular vision I had for the video and then was conveying that to my DP. But yeah, let's just kind of jump into breaking down the video. So first up, I want to even touch on the first scene here, which is one of the last scenes in the video. This scene is actually the scene that when I initially wrote the treatment for the video, Futuristic liked the least and didn't really like it all and was like, I could probably do without the laser pointer scene. I think he didn't fully, envision it in his head the way I did. And, I was just kind of like, I've worked with Futuristic a lot, so we have a lot of trust there. And I was just like, yo, just trust me, it's gonna look dope. I kind of always had this vision to do a scene through a bunch of haze, some laser pointers, all kind of moving around. Like maybe there were some soldiers, attached to guns, like closing in on someone. And so that was a scene I wrote into this treatment. And again, Futuristic actually was like, I don't really like that scene. But again, sometimes as the director, you have to, if they don't quite envision it, try and help them understand what you're seeing, but also push for your vision too as a director. And so I really wanted the scene. I was like, just trust me, we're gonna do it. It's gonna be dope. So just kind of even real quickly, the lighting going into the scene, the laser pointers I found on Amazon for like 10 bucks for like a lot of like 6 of them or something like that. And in order to see the actual beams themselves, you have to use, you have to put atmosphere into the scene. So here we have a hazer that was just pumping a bunch of haze into the set here. And what that is doing is allowing us to actually see the laser beams from the laser pointer. If we didn't have the haze in the scene, you actually wouldn't see the beams at all. And so that's how you actually end up seeing these kind of beams coming through here, but also the light rays poking through the back as well. Not to get too technical in the lighting, because that's not what I want to break down in this video. That was a Joe Lico in the back pushing light through these holes that we actually poked into the plastic. And we poked the holes intentionally because we knew by doing that, we would get kind of these shafts and rays of light. And as well, to complement the green laser pointers, I had the option between red or green. I purchased green because I thought that would just be a cool look inside of an abandoned greenhouse. Those are all choices I made ahead of time as a director and stuff that you should think creatively about too. If you're going into writing a treatment for a video or going into directing, everything has meaning. Yes, you end up with some happy accidents, but everything in this scene here was planned. To complement those green laser pointers, we actually had green or Asteras set to green as well. And those are lining the sides. You can't see them because they're off camera here, but you can kind of see that one there. And that's just kind of uplighting and giving that illuminance and more of the green light to Futuristic here to complement those green laser pointers. We color contrast that with the blue in the back. And that's what's giving us that kind of just really cool look here. So yeah, as a director, I knew this is the scene I wanted to create and build. And I finally convinced Futuristic to just go through with it. And it turned out really, really dope. And I'm super happy with how the scene came out. And so again, as a director, fight for your vision. And as best as you can, try and, let the artist know through visual images that you can find online in the treatment of like, this is kind of what it's gonna look like. And so I was able to do that. And he was like, all right, I trust your vision. This looks like it'll be dope. Let's go for it, so. So for this scene right here, why I really kind of want to talk about this one, I think it goes back to talking about planning ahead of time and just knowing certain looks that you want to go for. Initially, like with this video, I just wanted to create as many different little scenes and looks as possible. A lot of scenes and shots that just have a lot of chaos. The song itself is very chaotic, so I wanted the video to be random, chaotic, high energy. So we went with a lot of mixture of, steady cam at high frame rates, low shutter speed, a lot of handheld movement, playing the song at double time, but like slowed down. So the song at 50% speed, and then shooting it at 12 frames a second. So it's all chaotic, and I'll break that down in a second. But going back to kind of the chaoticness and randomness and planning ahead of time, I just wanted to try some different things. And this is where, as a director and your vision coming to life, I had the idea to get an infrared like flashlight off of Amazon and just tape it to the front of the camera, because I knew I was going to do some up in your face, high energy handheld shots. And as the director, I was like, I just want it to look different, like feel weird. And so by going on Amazon and getting a red infrared flashlight, I literally, if this was the flashlight and here's the camera matte box, we taped it to the front just right off the camera and turned it on. And I remember the DP on the day, Tom, he probably thought I was weird for doing that, but it was just something I wanted to do that would fit the style of the video, right? Again, I just wanted it weird, chaotic, random, and kind of like, how'd you get that kind of look? And so I just had this idea, again, to take an infrared flashlight, tape it to the front of the camera. Hopefully it looks cool. I had never tried it before, but it was just something that I thought of ahead of time and I purchased ahead of time to try on the day. I didn't test it. This was the first time we used it, and it looked good, especially when complementing the red flashlight look with, again, the Joe Lico in the back, spewing and moving through the background. The image just popped really well, and it just kind of gave it a unique in-your-face kind of look. And again, we have this same setup in a wide shot where the lighting is totally different. We're on steady cam, it's a little more fluid, but then cutting away and cutting into a close-up, I didn't want it to have the same feel. I almost wanted it to feel like a completely different scene. So now I'm getting kind of a bang for my buck with two shots in the same setting that look completely different. And so with this setup, and going handheld, switching up the lighting where we taped the red light to the front, it's just by being super close and up in his face, it gave this really cool, just red, punchy highlight, infrared kind of look. And then again, giving it a lot of shakes and handheld movement. When you watch the video, it feels unique and energetic and very different than the wide steady cam shot where you see it's a lot more clean lighting setup. There's still some chaotic movement in that scene with steady cam coming in and out and the light moving around, but they still, even though they're in the exact same room, they still have two different looks. And that was a decision that was made by me as the director. Even though the lighting setups are completely different, me planning ahead of time, knowing what I wanted to do and how I wanted the video to look and feel as a director is super important, because at the end of the day, this is your vision. And if your vision is to have the video feel random and chaotic and high energy, you need to implement those things. Unless I communicated that to Tom ahead of time and he made this idea or choice as a DP, cool, it can work that way as well. But me as the director, I had a specific vision and wanted to try things and try new and different things to give the video a unique look and make the video stand out from either other videos I've done or other videos of Zach. And so that's why I ended up doing this look right here. So if you also notice through the video, there's moments where it seems like it's super sped up, but his lyrics and his lips are still in sync. And so what's happening there is we are playing the song back actually at 50%. So live on set, it sounds like, I wish I would, like it's very slowed down. So what this allows us to do is, as he's saying the word slow down, I wish he's still moving as if, in normal speed as he's rapping. So when we record, there's two ways of doing it. On a red camera, you can actually drop the frame rate so normal frame rate is 24 FPS. What we can do on a red camera is actually drop it to 12 FPS, so half of that. And so basically in camera, now when this shot at 12 frames per second plays back, it will be sped up and be 24 frames a second, if that makes sense. So now his lyrics and everything are in sync because, you know, the frame rate is 50% and his lyrics are in sync, but the movements are just like extremely sped up. It's kind of hard to break that down. I'll try another way as well. So another way of doing that is also just playing the song at 50% speed. But you can also, if you don't have a camera that can, you know, do a lower frame rate or lower frames a second, you can also just record at 24 frames per second, the normal standard frame rate. And then in post, you would just times that by 2. So the shot, you know, his lyrics, he's all slowed down and moving slow with his mouth. So in post, you would just take that clip and times it by 2 times 2 or 200%, because the clip lives at 100%. So in Adobe Premiere or Final Cut, you times it by 2 or set the speed to 200%. And now that 50% speed will be 100%. And now everything, again, will be in sync with the song. His mouth will be moving in sync with the lyrics, but his actions will just be extremely sped up. And it just gives it this really high energy, chaotic feel. And we did that a lot throughout this video in a bunch of different scenes. And you can see the difference. You know, we'll try, hopefully a couple scenes will play here where this is, you know, an example happening from the video. And you can just tell that it's just like super chaotic and high energy, but yet his lyrics are still in sync. So that's kind of how you do that effect in a couple different ways. Hopefully that made sense. When it came to this scene in the video, when the video came out, this is probably easily the most asked question that I got about the video, was how I achieved these scenes where there's kind of like this blurry feel and vibe, and it kind of punches in a bunch of blurry shots and then cuts into some video. And I just got asked a lot, how did I get that look? How did I get that effect? And it's actually pretty interesting because it's not something we actually shot with the video cameras. They are all actually photos. So going into the whole shoot, I knew as a director, part of my vision was to kind of transition into the scenes and out of scenes using mixed media or using photos and different versions of film. And so the series of all these scenes where you kind of see this blurry, almost stop motion imagery, and then it cuts into a scene or into that same scene but video, it's a series of photos. So just in between each scene or setup, I would go grab my EOS R and I would just set the shutter to maybe like an 1/8 of a second or a 1/13 of a second or a 1/10 of a second, depending on how much of the blur I wanted. So you know how you would say your shutter would be at a normal picture, 50 to 60, 80, 120, you bump up that shutter to capture that solid frozen in motion, you know, there's no blur. Well, if you want a blurry effect, you just go the opposite way. So I took it below a second and I went again to like a 1/10 of a second. I dropped that shutter really low and I just would take photos moving in. So I'd photo, 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 just kind of change the image. I'd have Futuristic like move and pose and pretend like he was rapping. And then in post, all I did was simply just, you know, stitch a bunch of those together. I would take maybe like 10 photos, lay one photo out, the next one, the next one, the next one, and I would just, you know, speed up through them or cut between them. And that's all it is literally just a series of photos that I used a low shutter on to capture on set. And it's kind of like this stop motion blur effect. And it's literally just a series of photos. So that's kind of what went into, you know, the making and more so the creative direction for me into the video for Futuristic, the Wishawoods video. Just wanted to create a very, eclectic, high energy video with a lot of just kind of crazy randomness. And so I think we achieved that and pretty much did most of, you know, everything I wanted to do. And these were, I feel like, some of my favorite frames or looks that kind of, you know, talk to a director's vision and style for a video. Obviously, you know, what I wanted to do with this video was create this random eclectic style. And so going into it, I needed to do certain things on set to achieve that look. For example, this photo thing is not something you can just do in post. That's something you creatively need to think ahead of and have ready and prepared on set to do. So before you go into any project, you know, I hope this kind of inspires some of you guys to think a little more creatively and critically about going into a video and achieving certain looks on set, and just kind of knowing that ahead of time.